Very good morning, class 10th. So here is your biology teacher Richa Prabhakar, and as we have started with a new chapter, that is how do organisms reproduce, right? And in the reproduction you have started with the asexual reproduction first. So there are two modes of mainly reproduction, that is asexual and sexual, and we have started with our asexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction you have already talked about the binary fission, multiple fission, as well as the budding. But in today's lecture, I'm going to talk about spore formation, fragmentation, and regeneration with you. Step by step, we will discuss them and with the help of example. So let's see first spore formation in Rhizopus. If I ask you that what is Rhizopus? Rhizopus is a fungus basically. Commonly it is known as the bread mold. On your bread, the common fungus which you observe, that is actually Rhizopus. So they are the, what are these actually, what you observe on your bread? These are the thread like structures initially, जो सबसे पहले develop होता है bread पे जब शुरू होती है fungus, that is the thread like structures that develop on the bread. They are actually hyphae of bread mold. Hyphae are these structures connecting links on the tip of which sporangia develops. Now you will say, what is sporangia? Sporangia is a blob structure, or you can say round structure, which helps in the development of spores. Because we are talking about reproduction, so here the reproductive portion which is actually give rise to new rhizopus, that is the spores, and these spores, they are developing on the structure that is your sporangia. And who is bearing these sporangia? Is sporangia lage kahan pe develop hote? That is your hyphae, which are thread like structures. So first these thread like structures, they start developing on the bread, and then there is a blob, or you can say round structure, in which spores they start developing. So tiny blob on a stick, who we are calling as a stick, these hyphae, and blob we are calling to the sporangia. So blob on a stick means this round structure on a stick. These are involved in reproduction. Hyphae is not involved in reproduction. Sporangia, we are saying they are involved in reproduction because these sporangia are having spores. So now these spores, why these spores are so important to us? Because they contain cells, these sporangia, they contain cells or spores which have capability. These spores have capability to develop into new rhizopus. We are talking about asexual, and if you have an idea that asexual means from the parent, new individual is developed. That is what we are looking for in rhizopus. And rhizopus में कहाँ से develop हो रहा है? It is the spores. Spores have capability to develop into new rhizopus, and spores develop किस में हो रहे हैं? The structure that is sporangia, and where this sporangia is developing on a stick like structure, which are we calling as the hyphae. So now these spores, see, it is not like they are not protected, because as you can see, these sporangia burst out. It means they are releasing these spores into the outer environment. So when something has to come up, it is like a baby. So when babies start going to the school, mother well protected their children, right? So same, this sporangia which is developing spores, these spores, they are well protected with the thick wall. Why thick wall? Because every time it does not face comfortable conditions. Comfortable condition matlab, when do you see fungi on a material, any your vegetable, or you can say your bread? When do you observe fungus? When the conditions are moist, means something is moist. You have loosened up your packet, and whole night it is loosened only, it is not tightly packed. It means it is interacting with the environment, moist surface, that time there is a fungus. So these spores are covered by thick walls that protect them until till the time they come into contact with the another moist surface and begin to grow. So what do we need for spores to grow? We need a comfortable moist surface, that time when this fungus can grow. So as this structure is very much clear to you, that is pore formation in Rhizopus. These connecting links, these are the first structures which start developing on the bread, and you call these structure as hyphae. On the tip of this hyphae there is sporangia, and inside the sporangia there are the tiny structures which we are calling them as the spores. And when this sporangia burst, these spores, they are releasing out into the environment. So here is just for your information that is how the fungus grow on the bread. So as you can see, this is what we discussed now. That is sporangium, that is one sporangium, and this sporangium has the spores. Once they release spores and they find a surface on the bread which is moist, they start developing them, which is the asexual mode of reproduction, right? You don't need to go through that. They also actually divide through or they give rise to new fungus through the sexual reproduction, but our concentration is on the asexual reproduction right now. These sporangia are having spores. These spores burst, they disperse or they are released on the moist surface, and the new Rhizopus, they are developed. So next, our asexual reproduction is fragmentation. It is another form of asexual reproduction in which new organism is formed from a fragment. As you just look at its name, fragmentation, it means if there is any individual, its one part or one fragment has the capacity to form the new individual, right? So it occurs in, usually the most important point here you need to know here is that fragmentation occurs in simple undifferentiated multicellular organism. Undifferentiated means those first thing, they are multicellular but they are very simple organisms. Undifferentiated means in which the cells, they are and tissues, they are not specifically defined for their functions. Jैसे in our body, like cell, they convert into tissues, and then these tissues, they go to a particular place, like liver have particular type of tissues or cells, then lungs, and then there is a heart. So everything is very very specified. Undifferentiated means सबको ड्यूटीज नहीं दी गई हैं, they are not specified in their function. It means they are undifferentiated. So their body organization is very simple. So annelids, starfish, fungi, lichens, few algae, mostly in algae, if I say, like Spirogyra. These which kind of reproduction you will observe? Fragmentation. Why I am concentrating on this line again and again? Because next reproduction is regeneration, and regeneration and fragmentation both are very similar to each other. So please pay attention here that fragmentation is observed in the simple undifferentiated multicellular organisms. They are multicellular, but every cell or tissue is not well defined in its functions. They have simple body organization. So here you can mention the example of algae specifically. So what is happen in Spirogyra? Filaments. What are these filaments? I said filaments, they basically break off. So as you can see, this is one part of filament, that is nucleus and vacuole, and it is cell wall. So these kind of compartments, they make a complete filament. So filament or fragment of Spirogyra, one thing you have to mention always, that is upon maturation. Till the time Spirogyra is not matured enough, it will not break down into, or if it is broken down into the simple pieces, it will not has the capacity to grow into new individual. Only usually upon maturation there is the break into small pieces of fragments, which finally, so these fragments, they can give rise to new individual, right? So here you can draw this diagram in your exams also, that as you can see that this diagram is a, here is a nucleus. I will mark it with the red marker, that is the, this is nucleus. And let's mark the, this one is my spiral chloroplast. Don't confuse that this is our DNA. No, in Spirogyra, this is spiral chloroplast. And here you can see that this wall is not continuous, right? We have made the partitions, little partitions are there, and this is called septa. Septa is basically dividing wall, one after the other, then it is getting break off and then break off, and in this way, suppose it is breaking from here, so these two, now there is a formation of new daughter spirogyra, and each fragment of spirogyra has capacity to give rise to new spirogyra. So this is our complete spirogyra. Suppose it is breaking off from here, then it will divide into two parts, and each part has the capacity, now it will become new spirogyra. So this is the, which kind of reproduction it is? Fragmentation. Fragmentation means एक fragment टूटा and it can give rise to new spirogyra. Next. Okay, students, so next type of reproduction, last for our today's lecture, we are going to talk about is regeneration. See, I already told you that fragmentation and regeneration, they are very similar in their reproductive modes, but otherwise regeneration has two meanings in the biology. See, regenerated, something which is getting generated again. If I just ask you a very simple question, that all your cells, they are always healthy? No, every time in our body there are damaged cells, right? Every moment there are few cells which are damaged, which are old. How do you think that these cells, they are repaired? How your body grow with the new cells? This step or this process is also called regeneration, right? Means growth, development, or you can say repair. That terms, they are also associated with the topic that is regeneration. But now here, because our concentration is on asexual reproduction, so this regeneration, it is a method of reproduction in few multicellular organisms. Okay, so don't get confused that why we are talking about them, because I'm going to give you example of this type also, where cells are repaired, cells are growth, cells are developed. I'm going to give you example of that also, as well as I'm going to talk about the regeneration as the asexual reproduction method, because both terms, you need to understand both concepts thoroughly, that what is the reproduction means, like in hydra, like in planaria, like in flatworms. These all are the animals, right? These are all are the, if you just look at them, these all are the multicellular organisms, and in these organisms, but they are simple also. So in these organisms, the method of reproduction is regeneration. It means their each body part is capable of reproducing new individual. Through which process? not the fragmentation, not the spore formation. It is the regeneration. But if I ask you how cells in your body are repaired, how the lizard's tail of the lizard getting developed, that is also regeneration. So don't get confused yourself with the term that regeneration's actual meaning is generated again, right? So method of reproduction is, that is, it is of two types basically. That is for the growth, repair and development, as well as one is for the reproduction. So let's see step by step that what is happening here. This process of regeneration, it is actually the formation of new organism from their body parts. Usually the simple organism, if you have to quote example, the best is quote always planaria, or you can comfortable with the hydra, then you can quote both the examples. They use this method of reproduction. What method of reproduction? Regeneration. Why regeneration? Why not I'm talking about fragmentation? Why so? Because planaria, hydra, their body is made up of specialized cells. I never talked about specialized cells in fragmentation. Specialized cells means they are the differentiated cells. Differentiated cells कौन से होते हैं? In which the already cells have their defined functions. हमने 9th में we have discussed about the differentiated and undifferentiated. Undifferentiated which keeps on dividing only maximum time, but differentiated like आपको इन डिवाइडिंग सेल्स को आपने फंक्शंस दे दिया कि गो टू लिवर एंड परफॉर्म फंक्शन, गो टू लंग्स एंड परफॉर्म फंक्शन, गो टू हार्ट एंड परफॉर्म फंक्शन. They are differentiated. So these cells, the body of these organism is made up of specialized cells which have capability to form new organism, right? As well as their body part can be formed by growth as well as development, like happened in the hydra. So what you have to mention here, what is the main difference? That in fragmentation the cells are undifferentiated, and here the cells are differentiated in case of multicellular organism. So regeneration always done by the specialized cells. These cells divide, multiply and show they become different types of tissues as well as cell types. If we talk about the example of lizards, right, lizard belong to which category? Or if we talk about us human beings, they lizard belong to which category? That is reptiles. Are reptiles are simple? No, they have complex body organization, and we said regeneration as a method of reproduction happens in simple organism. So why not complex? That question also comes in your mind. Why not in complex organism? See, complex organism have a organ system level of organization. For each function we have our different organ systems, and all organ systems, they work together. So they cannot show the reproduction method as regeneration, but they have capacity that they can regenerate their lost body parts. Like in us, sometimes our skin cells, they are regenerated, our muscles sometimes regenerated, our blood also formed few blood cells through the regeneration. So our few parts can be regenerated, दोबारा से form हो सकते हैं, but they cannot give rise to new individual through regeneration. ऐसा नहीं है अपनी स्किन में से एक सेल निकाला, उसको ग्रो किया and it become new human being. No, it cannot happen in the complex organisms. So if the tail of the lizard is cut, has it the capacity to develop into new lizard? No. Missing part only develop again from the remaining part of the tail. But what will you call this process? Ki tail is cut, now it is developing again. Will you call it with another term? No, it is calling as a regeneration only. As this regeneration is a reproduction method, No. Why? What is the regeneration as a reproduction? In case of planaria, in case of hydra, in which new individuals are formed. So our body cells, they are continuously we lose cells from the skin and replaced by newly formed cells. That is also due to regeneration. So it regeneration is actually our natural power. हमने develop नहीं किया है वो power को. It is our natural power, natural ability to replace the damaged parts. So repair can be done, damaged part can be developed again, whole body can be developed from the small fragment if the organism is in the embryo period. Embryo means सबसे पहले एक सेल बनता है, सेल फ्यूज सेल के बाद फिर देन इट डेवलप्स इनटू जाइगोट. ये आपको रिप्रोडक्शन, सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन में वी विल टेल यू, बट यहाँ पे ज़्यादा नहीं मैं डिस्कस करूँगी. जाइगोट के बाद यहाँ पे मल्टी सेलुलर एक स्ट्रक्चर बनता है विच इज़ कॉल्ड द एम्ब्रियो. बट फॉर राइट नाउ you need to understand only कि regeneration repair में भी help करती है. It help in the maintaining the damaged parts of your body, as well as if the organism is in embryo period, sometime it can form the whole complete body also. So in exam you can quote the example of planaria. This is our parent planaria, and this planaria is cut into 3 pieces, right? It is already now cutted into 3 pieces. Head is different, neck there is, tail is there. This head now has the capacity to develop into new planaria. Here from the neck upper portion and lower portion of the body will develop and new planaria will be developed. Tail is already there, so new head will be formed, another planaria. So we will have 3 planaria from the 3 parts. This is called regeneration in the simple organism, simple multicellular. Then there is the best example, that is flatworm also. It is a parent flatworm, and as you can see that now it is cut into 2 pieces. So their lower portion body will regrow and here upper portion will regrow. That is which process you will write here. That is also regeneration. Actually regeneration is most commonly observed in case of animals, and fragmentation is most commonly in case of plants like the algae or Spirogyra. So here you can draw the diagram of hydra also. Hydra, that is like, this is your adult hydra. Adult word means it is matured. So amputation is means we have formed a cut. Here is a cut, it is cut into 2 pieces, but amputation is a biological word, best technical term to write. So now upper portion is cutted, lower portion is there. So ultimately with the growth or with the regeneration, there is a new hydra are formed from the 2 pieces of the hydra. Through which process? That is your regeneration. I don't think that now you are confused with the fragmentation, regeneration, or the types of regeneration. So if I ask you the difference between regeneration and fragmentation, both are asexual methods. Both stands usually from the same meaning. In there also fragments are cutted into pieces, and here body parts are cutting into pieces. That is best way to define it. So growth of an organism from a part of body, that is called your regeneration or fragmentation. Regeneration, I already told you, it is associated with animals. Fragmentation with the plants. 2 types, best to understand, that body part or cut is can be regenerated lizards में. In planaria and hydra, it is a method of reproduction. फ्रैगमेंटेशन इज़ अनइंटेंशनल, मीन्स अपॉन मैच्योरेशन. हम नहीं कट कर रहे हैं कि हमने स्पेसिफिकली कोई कट किया और अभी हमारे पास न्यू प्लेनेरिया न्यू स्पायरोगायरा डेवलप हो जाएगा. नो, दिस इज़ अ कट विच इज़ डेवलप्ड ऑन मैच्योरेशन ऑफ स्पायरोगायरा, एंड व्हेन कट इज़ मेड, these 2 fragments or these 2 pieces of Spirogyra, it can give rise to new organism. This is most commonly seen in algae. So here we have discussed three concepts today. First is the spore formation, what is the example, that is Rhizopus. Then we studied about the fragmentation, where is the best example you can quote, that is the algae Spirogyra. Then we discussed the two types of regeneration, the example you can quote is your planaria as well as hydra here. So this is all about today's lecture, and next we are going to talk about in detail regeneration. Thank you so much, take care and have a good day.